10 shocking things you must let go now at midnight to change your life forever. The clock struck midnight, and as the old saying goes, the witching hour arrived, sending chills down spines and igniting wild tales across the town. Secrets hung in the air like dense fog, waiting for someone brave enough to peel back the layers of mystery. It was said that at this very moment, things beyond comprehension waited to be unleashed, like hidden demons eager to break free. What happens when we confront the shadows of our past, those little whispers of regret and fear? For some, it could lead to liberation, for others, pure terror. In the heart of the story lies the curious case of Emily. By day, she was a mild-mannered librarian, but when the darkness fell, she transformed. Each day, she wrapped herself in layers of doubt and worry, carrying around the weight of choices not taken. But tonight, that all would change. The moment she glanced at the dusty mirror in her dimly lit bedroom, she felt something stir deep within. Unseen forces coiled tightly around her heart, her breath hitched in her throat like a fragile bird caught in a storm. The midnight hour is a threshold, whispered the locals over half-lit candles and nervous laughter. They believe that if you dared let go of your burdens, fear, anger, resentment, the universe might just unfold in your favor. And yet, no one ever spoke of the consequences. What lurked in denial? With each tick of the clock, an unbearable tension wrapped itself around her chest, making her breath shallow. Could she really let go? And what about the things she held dear? Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through, causing the curtains to flutter like ominous wings. Shadows danced, and Emily shivered as a flicker of doubt slithered in. The air thickened, charged with something electric. What if she didn't have the courage? What if the darkness consumed her instead of freeing her? She barely noticed her knuckles turning white as she gripped the edge of the vanity. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the seconds slid away, Emily took a deep breath, whispering the words of release she had memorized. It felt like lightning bolting through her veins. What would those words unleash? With a pounding heart, she closed her eyes and plunged into the darkness. The world outside faded, and she was left standing at the edge of a precipice, anxiously peering into the unknown. But there was something lurking in the darkness. Was it simply fear, or was it something far more sinister? The midnight veil began to shatter. What awaited her would change everything, but was she ready to embrace it? A pulse of energy crackled around Emily, a force tugging at each nerve, urging her to shatter the chains of her past. Her heart raced, drumming against her ribcage like a caged animal desperate to escape. For a moment, she felt untethered, suspended in a void where time lost all meaning. Shadows whispered around her, soft yet insidious, as if they knew her every secret, every sleepless night haunted by choices she'd held onto so tightly. Let go. She breathed, but it came out more like a plea, quaking with uncertainty. What would the universe reveal? With unexpected intensity, her memories rushed back, tearing through her defenses like frayed ropes being pulled apart. She saw the faces, the friends she'd lost touch with, the love she never acted upon, and the dreams stuffed away like dusty relics in the attic of her mind. Each remembered moment flared up, igniting her soul, sorrow mingling with yearning. Emily, a voice drifted through the chaos, soft like a caress yet heavy with weight. She snapped open her eyes. A silhouette loomed in the corner of her room, barely discernible against the swirling shadows. Long fingers stretched towards her, ethereal and menacing all at once. Who are you? She stammered, defenses crumbling, panic clawing at her throat. Just a guide, it replied, though the words felt like nails scraping against glass. Here to help you see what you've clung to. Help me. Her brow furrowed, skepticism wrestling with desperation. Help? Or was it a trick? Yes, but you must trust me. You want to let go, don't you? The figure moved closer, revealing a face that twisted in and out of the gloom, impossible to define. Emily's insides clenched. I do, she whispered, but her voice cracked under the weight of doubt. What did that word mean, to release? Would it be worth the price? The room darkened, and the temperature plummeted, chilling her skin. The clock echoed in the silence, each tick a countdown to liberation or doom. Fear is heavy. Anger is a burden. Let them go. The voice urged, now resonating in her chest. It seeped into her bones, vibrant yet inviting panic. Tremors rippled through her as she hesitantly reached out toward the shrouded figure. Spectral tendrils coiled around her fingers, pulling her closer into the swirling fog. A flood of emotion surged, sheer terror mixed with a mad thrill. Suddenly, she recalled the moment she first stepped into the library, a sanctuary among chaos. A sanctuary where the pages of countless stories wrapped her in comfort, but also where her dreams flickered dimly, obscured by the dust of inaction. Was now the time to flip the script? See your regrets. It was less of a suggestion, more a command, filled with urgency. The shadows began to dissolve into fleeting images, each one flashing past like a quick montage, her teenage crush, the risk she never took at work, every what-if that chased her like a restless ghost. Time threatened to overwhelm her as the memories spiraled faster. Stop! She screamed, struggling to find her footing. Her heart raced, almost screaming no. A desperate surge of self-preservation sparked through her like fire. But then, an icy voice cut through the chaos, dark and alluring. What if you let go, and everything goes wrong? Dread weighed her down. The question vibrated in her mind, paralyzing her spirit. What if the consequences were more terrifying than the burden of holding on? The shadows lurked, thick and suffocating, waiting for her answer. Emily bit her lip, trembling as the clock ticked down to the unthinkable. What did she want to unleash? Was liberation worth the potential price? As reality twisted and blurred, she felt the unrelenting grip of time slipping away. It was almost too late, but in that moment of desperation, something within her flickered. Was it courage? The boundary between choice and consequence blurred, a raw sensation of freedom swelling within. Let me go, she echoed softly, clasping her hands tightly, eyes closing against the uncertainty. What awaited Emily on the other side of midnight? Darkness or dawn? The only way to find out was to take the leap. As the clock struck 1, a thunderous crack echoed through the room, and everything erupted into blinding light. What would she discover when the chaos settled? Would she still be standing, or would she look back and see a reflection she no longer recognized? The blinding light swallowed Emily whole, and for a heartbeat, she felt like she was falling through endless space. It was a dizzying rush, a raw burst of energy that split her reality in two. When the light finally faded, she found herself standing on the edge of a vast landscape, strange yet familiar, like the dream she could never quite recall. The next morning, the air hummed with an electric charge, full of whispers she couldn't quite understand. Each sound felt like a memory trying to break free, pressing against her consciousness, begging for release. She stood still, trying to catch her breath, confusion swirling around her. What just happened? She murmured, looking around, half expecting the shadowy figure to reappear, but the only thing that met her gaze was a horizon painted in shades of twilight, vibrant and eerie. A voice, calming yet eerily familiar, cut through her awareness. Welcome back, Emily. Back. She echoed, her heart racing anew. Was this a return to the past or a step into the unknown? What do you mean back? Here, you are no longer bound by the regrets that once held you captive. But be warned, this is no easy journey. The choices you make now will shape your future. As the words settled in her mind, Emily noticed shadows shifting around her, forming figures that resembled the faces of people she'd once known, each smile, each frown, reminders of what she'd lost. They reached for her, and for a moment, panic surged, threatening to pull her back to the comfort of familiarity. No! She shouted, stepping back, shaking her head. I don't want to see this. It is not your past we want to show you, the voice replied soothingly. It's about what you will become. To move forward, you must confront your fears head on. A trembling whisper carried through the air, echoing memories of heartbreak and joy, intertwining them until the lines blurred. Suddenly, she became aware of a road extending before her, its path thick with fog. On either side, spectral images flickered in and out, moments of her life begging for recognition. Deftly, she lifted one foot, then the other, stepping hesitantly onto the path. As her foot touched the ground, a surge of clarity intensified, and she felt the weight of her choices shifting. With each step into the fog, scenes began to unfold: her childhood dream of becoming a writer, the laughter shared with friends, the heartfelt connections dimmed by neglect, but just as quickly, the memories darkened. She was gripped by waves of guilt: the friends she ghosted, the love she turned away from, the opportunities lost to fear. Each remembrance coiled around her heart like a vice, squeezing tighter as the fog thickened. Don't fall back. The voice urged, ringing with insistence. These chains are not as strong as you think. Behind her, shadows reached, pulling at her limbs, trying to drag her back into the fog of despair. Fear laced her throat as she glanced back, the silhouettes pressing closer. Heart racing, she turned to face what lay ahead. I can do this, she declared, though uncertainty clung to her words. I will not be who I was. The fog swirled even faster, ripping at her resolve. She moved forward, digging deeper for the courage buried beneath layers of doubt. And then the silhouettes shifted again, one voice rose above the others. But what if you fail? It taunted, the specter of her past awakening lingering fears in her heart. Emily closed her eyes, feeling the pull, the lure of retreat. Yet a glint of defiance sparked within her. What if I succeed? She countered, the tension taut like a bowstring ready to snap. In that moment everything stilled. Time paused, holding its breath, as Emily stood on the precipice of change. What lay beyond the fog? Would freedom embrace her, or would it cast her back into the depths of her despair? The question loomed, hanging heavy in the air like a thick mist. What would she find at the center of her journey, truth or survival? With resolve, she took a step forward into the unknown. What awaited Emily on this dangerous path? Would she find the strength to shatter her past, or would the shadows pull her down into the dark once more? The fog rolled around her, thickening like the weight of a storm. She felt the chill seep into her bones, chilling her skin. With every tremor of air, the ghosts of her past whispered dark promises, too tempting to ignore. Emily pressed on, her breaths coming faster. She wouldn't let them bind her again. Not now. As she walked deeper, the figures beside the path morphed. Their faces changed, twisting from memories of affection to reminders of betrayal. A childhood best friend turned away, a lover's face faded into disappointment. The shadows moved, swirling, tightening their grip on her heart. Emily, they called, their voices echoing like a dirge. Don't you remember us? Leave me alone, she shouted, voice breaking through the stillness. It was a fragile scream, yet it shattered the thick air around her. The fog turned darker, swirling in a hypnotic dance. The shadows hesitated, then darted backward. She took another step, a mixture of exhilaration and fear pulsing through her veins. Good. Keep going. The voice returned, clearer now, urging her onward. You are closer than you think. Through the dense mist, Emily spotted a flicker of light ahead. A faint glow pulsed, brightening the path just enough for her to see. Each step toward it became an act of defiance. A glimpse of something more. Could hope really be waiting for her? Suddenly, she stumbled. The shadow of her insecurity reached out, trying to trip her up, feeding on her fear. What if you're not strong enough? It crooned, twisting her doubts. What if the past you left behind always follows? She fumbled, feeling the ground shift beneath her feet, heart racing as she nearly fell. But a sense of purpose surged within her, pulling her back from the edge. No, she whispered fiercely. I am more than my failures. With that declaration, the light ahead pulsed brighter, an incandescent beacon against the dark. Just as she steadied her footing, the shadows recoiled, merging back into the mist. If you want to see the truth, you must let go, the reassuring voice warned. Release what weighs you down. Taking a deep breath, Emily pressed on, drawn toward the light. It flickered like candlelight, a promise of understanding. She reached out, caught between the whispers of her past and the possibility of her future. The fog began to dissolve in parts, revealing glimpses of others walking similar paths, tormented and free alike. Suddenly, a horrifying thought jolted her. Was she truly ready to face the truth? What if her pain, her regrets, were all she had? A gut-wrenching fear bloomed, clawing at her throat. Just then, she felt a rush of memories, her mother's kind smile, the ecstatic feeling of ink on the page as she created, the warmth of real friendship. These were the pieces she desperately wanted back. I have to believe, she uttered aloud, feeling the power of her own voice. As she continued toward the light, the air shifted again. A figure emerged from the brightness, a clear outline against the haze. Emily's heart thundered in her chest. Who are you? She breathed, an edge of terror and excitement dancing on her tongue. I am the version of you that you've yet to meet, the figure replied, voice echoing with promise. And it's time you discovered who you truly are. Emily's excitement collided with dread, a whirlwind inside. She felt caught in a liminal space, a bridge between darkness and revelation. The question hung in her mind: if she stepped toward this new self, what would she have to sacrifice? Part of her wanted to flee, but part craved the truth that lay ahead. With the light's warmth wrapping around her, she took a deep breath. "I'm ready," but the ground began to tremble, and the path behind her erupted into a cacophony of shadows. "Emily! You can't abandon us!" they screamed, voices rising in desperation. Everything around her shook. What awaited on the other side? Would she find freedom or face the chaos of her own making? As the tempest of voices descended on her, encapsulated by uncertainty, one question roared above the rest. Would Emily embrace the truth, risking everything, or retreat back into the fog? The tremors beneath her feet worsened. The shadows yanked at her consciousness, clawing at her sanity. "What do we represent?" they wailed, creeping closer, their cold fingers wrapping around her thoughts. Emily gritted her teeth. "You're not me. You don't control me." But the shadows didn't relent. They took on the forms of people she had tried to forget. Her father, eyes dark with disappointment. The laughter of old friends, now turned to haunting echoes. "You think you can escape us?" they taunted, voices merging into a hypnotic chant. "We are written in your very soul." Emily clutched her head, the pressure of their words swelling like a storm surge. She glimpsed the figure in the light again. It was still there, patient yet urgent. "You have to make a choice," it called out, the words slicing through the cacophony. "Understanding comes when we face our fears, not when we hide from them." "Face my fears," she shot back, voice raw. "You want me to embrace the pain?" "Yes." The brightness flickered, rhythmically pulsing with her heart. Pain shows where healing needs to begin. It shows where you can grow. A flash of clarity ignited within her. If she was to discover who she was meant to be, she had to face the shadows that defined her. Could she really climb out from the weight of regret? With every fiber of her being, she screamed, "I refuse to be bound by the past." The ground quaked again, but this time, it felt different. As she loosened her grip on the agonizing memories, the shadows began to shift. Their forms morphed from grotesque to ghostly. They lost their claws, reverting to mere silhouettes. "You cannot escape us," they hissed, a tremor of fear now in their voices. "We live in you. Then you can teach me." She yelled into the void, no longer terrified but empowered. "Teach me to be stronger than my past." The figure in the light took a step forward, an invitation. "Come, Emily. You're on the verge of becoming. You just need to shed the excess." With a deep breath, she took a steadfast step forward, feeling something inside her give way. The shadows shrieked, their voices blurring into panic whispers, "No. Don't leave us. You need us." "Do I?" Emily's voice rang out, steady and fierce. "You were a chapter of my story, but not the whole book." The light enveloped her. She felt herself shifting, the tumult of emotions crashing like waves against her. As she moved closer, the warmth of the light consumed her, and the shadows grew thinner, their forms fading into ashes, but as she crossed the threshold, a piercing scream erupted from the darkness. "You're making a mistake. Without us, you'll be lost." She hesitated, the weight of doubt creeping back. What if they were right? What if shedding her past left her vulnerable? The figure beckoned. "Step into the truth, Emily. It's why you've come this far." Emily's heart thundered as the shadows howled in vain. She could see more clearly now, a vision of strength, color, and vibrancy, like wildflowers growing from rubble. This was freedom, but just then, a blinding flash ignited behind her. She turned, feeling the pull of the fog again, the whispers urging her to reconsider. "You'll regret this. You'll be nothing without us." Breathless, Emily faced ahead. The light shimmered, an unyielding promise, but she felt the pull of her old self wrestling against her new identity. Would she grasp the promise of what lay ahead, or scramble back into the fog that defined her? With a final glance over her shoulder, doubt twisted in her gut. Would she forge ahead into the unknown or give in to the shadows that had clung so fiercely to her heart? As the shadows merged back into the mist, Emily stood at the brink of everything she could become. What awaited her beyond the light? Only one realization loomed heavy: every step forward risked everything. Would she finally embrace the promise of her true self, or would the echoes of her past reclaim her? The moment Emily stepped into the light, an unearthly warmth enveloped her. It felt like a soft embrace, a protective layer that separated her from the howl of the shadows behind. Yet still, doubt hovered like a dark cloud over her newfound resolve. As the shadows retreated, their cries dissipating into a chilling whisper, Emily felt a pulse of energy surge through her. The figure in the light transformed, its features unmistakable now her own reflection, radiant and powerful. "This is you," it said, a soothing yet commanding voice resonating through her entire being. "Embrace this truth." But as the clarity of her own strength settled in, turbulence roiled in her chest. What did it mean to embrace her truth? Could she still carry parts of her past without letting it drown her? Panic bubbled up, threatening to wash away the light as glow. "You must acknowledge your past, Emily," her reflection continued, the warmth intensifying. "Only then can you become whole." The scent of blossoms filled the air, mingling with fragrances of burnt memories still tethered to her. Each bloom whispered tales of joy and heartbreak, merging into a realization that left her breathless. "Is it possible to love the ones who hurt me?" she wondered aloud. "Love does not diminish your strength, it amplifies it," the figure replied. "But clinging to resentment will weigh you down. Release it." Stars shimmered around her, illuminating fragments of her life, the look of her father's disappointed eyes, the laughter of her lost friends, the moments that left scars. She saw them now, not as chains but as reminders of her journey. Turning away from the light, she hesitated again, drawn toward the shadows like a moth to a flame. "What if letting go leaves me empty?" she whispered, fearful of the abyss that echoed behind her. "Only by shedding the old can you discover the new," the reflection reassured her, a blend of compassion and urgency. "You are not losing yourself, you are transforming. Step forward." Summoning each beat of her heart, Emily faced the shadows one last time. "I do not need your fear to define me," she declared firmly, letting her voice echo through the dark. "You can no longer hold me hostage." A tremor surged beneath her, more furious than before. The shadows reared, twisting and contorting, their forms erupting into a chaotic dance of anger and despair. "You will regret this. You cannot survive without us." "But there is strength in my growth," Emily countered, fiercer now, resonating with a newfound authority. "You were never my truth. It's time for you to fade." With that, the light from her reflection expanded, radiating outward, consuming the shadows in its glow. Desperation filled their cries, merging with a cacophony of despair as they disintegrated into wisps of smoke. As silence fell once more, Emily felt a fierce energy pulling within her. Her heart was now a drumming warrior's rhythm, echoing resilience and ambition. Her spirit lifted, she embraced the light fully, letting it ignite every corner of her being. But just then, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, a remnant, lingering longer than the others. It pulsed, a dark heartbeat in the air before coiling back into the surrounding mist. "You can never escape your truth or the parts of you that still linger in darkness," a chilling voice taunted. Fear pierced through her newfound strength. Was this a warning or a promise she couldn't ignore? Emily stood at the edge of her rebirth, the light thickening around her like honey, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, hunted even. What if the pieces of her she thought she had cast away were far more than echoes? Would they return to haunt her in ways she couldn't predict? Determined not to look back, she took a deliberate step forward, into the unknown realm ahead. Yet as she ventured deeper into the light, she felt shadows breach the surface of her thoughts again. The battle wasn't over. Would these remnants of her past come back to claim her in the unexpected? The real challenge was dawning. Where would her bold new path lead? Every heartbeat echoed a question: could she sustain this new identity, or would the shadows constantly seek to reclaim her? The deeper Emily moved into the light, the oppressive weight of the shadows behind her began to crystallize into a cold dread that crept under her skin. She focused ahead, daring her mind to banish those whispers of the past, but they clawed at her resolve like desperate fingers seeking to pull her back. "Leave me alone," she shouted into the vast expanse, her voice quivering as it resonated off invisible walls. The light pulsed around her, offering reassurance in the face of her fears, but the air was thick with tension. From a distance, she heard laughter, a haunting sound that wrapped around her, an echo of the good times that turned bitter. Memory spun uncontrolled, drawing her back to the sound of her father's judgment and her friend's gossip, a background noise of loss that never quite faded. With every step, they appeared like specters, swirling closer, challenging her to confront them. You can't pretend we don't exist, a voice hissed, slinking through the air like smoke. Emily shivered, the chill penetrating her very core. You can't grow without acknowledging us. No. She countered fiercely, pumping her fist, anger igniting within. You don't define who I am. I am my own person. Her heart thundered, fueling her insistence. And then the light shifted, transforming her surroundings, turning into a glowing forest filled with dense trees, their branches twisting ominously as if to block her path. The air shimmered with an otherworldly quality, thickening with each breath. Emily swallowed hard, her throat tight with uncertainty. Was she in a dream or a nightmare? Slowly, one by one, the shadowy figures emerged from the trees, each one a lost memory, each face twisted with regret and bitterness. Their eyes, dark voids, bore into her with accusations, a chilling reminder that her past was merely behind her, it was rooted deep within. Do you really think you can outrun us? One figure taunted, stepping forward. It wore her old high school sweatshirt, stained with time and sorrow. We will always be here, lurking. You can't run from the mistakes you made. Emily felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, and panic flared. No. I refuse to be held captive. Her voice shook with desperation as she thrust her hands forward, summoning the light-as glow with all her might. You don't own me anymore. As if responding to her call, the light flared bright and a surge of warmth enveloped her, pushing back against the shadows. They recoiled, caught off guard, but the doubt sat firmly in her heart. Could this be enough to banish them forever? With every ounce of strength, she pressed forward, a fierce glow radiating from her core. I choose to remember, but I will not be controlled by you. I release you. Each word sliced through the air like a blade, and the shadows shrieked back, shrinking with every syllable, but as the nightmarish figures faded, a flicker of movement caught her eye. From the depths of the darkness emerged a new shape, larger, more menacing. A figure clad in shades darker than the night, its presence seemed to swallow the light. The air turned cold and heavy, and with a low, rumbling voice, it murmured, You think you've won. This is just the beginning. Emily's heart raced. This new shadow loomed ominously, its whispers cloaked in threat, a stark reminder that there was still a battle left to fight. Who are you? She demanded, refusing to back down. But the figure faded back into darkness, leaving a chilling certainty hanging in the air. Emily was left standing amid glowing trees, her breath shallow, the weight of unrecognizable fear crashing down upon her like a wave. What was this entity? One more layer of her past or something altogether more sinister? As she steadied herself, she realized the battle was escalating, pulling her deeper into an unexpected confrontation. The truth was waiting in the shadows, and Emily knew it was going to just let her go. With renewed determination, she whispered to herself, what is undeniably more powerful than fear? And in that murmur, a small spark ignited. If she could find the way to overcome this, she just might learn the depths of her own strength, but how far would she have to go to confront the darkness still lurking just beyond her reach? The air crackled with an electric tension as Emily steadied her breath. She could feel the oppressive weight of the shadows still swirling around her, each flicker of movement a reminder that the darkness was waiting for her to falter. Her heart thudded in her chest, but she couldn't allow fear to clutch at her throat. Not now. Show yourself, she demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. But the hush of the eerie forest only deepened, choking her words like a twisted root wrapping around her ankle. Moments passed in silence, and the beats of her heart became the only sound. Then, like an echo pulling her back, a low laughter erupted, a chilling sound that wrapped around her like a noose. It was the laughter from her memory, taunting and malicious. Her knees felt weak, and the vibrant light that had surrounded her dimmed dangerously. You really thought you could push us away? The dark voice slithered from the shadows. You wanted to forget whence you came, but we are your foundation, Emily. Without us, you are nothing. Her mind raced as the shadows closed in, their forms twisting and merging. They were reflections of her mistakes, her regrets, and above all, her fears. Emily clenched her fists, refusing to back down. I am more than my past. You don't own me, she yelled, her voice echoing confidently through the dark trees. But then the dark figure from before swept back into view, its outline looming larger than life. It seemed to absorb the faint light, exuding an aura of foreboding. You think you can just erase us? You are nothing but a collection of your failures. You think this is a battle? It's a reminder. The haunting realization bore into her this was just about confronting memories. This was about accepting herself, all of herself, the good, the bad, and everything in between. But she had to fight back. She had to reclaim her narrative with a fierce breath. She focused on the light within her. It pulsed like a heartbeat, yearning to break free from the clutches of despair. "You're wrong," she shouted, pouring all her energy into her words. "The light defines me, not the darkness. I will embrace my past, but it won't hold my future." The shadows shivered at her defiance, and Emily felt a rush of empowerment surge through her. The air shimmered, and as she raised her hands, the light swelled, radiant and warm. It was a reminder of her resilience, a light not easily snuffed out. "You think you can thrive with just hope?" The dark figure growled, its voice laced with mockery. "Hope cannot protect you from the truth." "Maybe not," she shot back, a fire igniting in her belly. "But it can guide me through it." With a swift motion, she spun, the light erupting in a brilliant arc that illuminated the entire forest. The shadows hissed, recoiling, their forms writhing and shrinking away like smoke dispersing in the wind, but just as she felt the weight begin to lift, the dark figure stepped closer, unfazed and smirking. "You think this is victory? This is merely the beginning of your reckoning. Remember, the deeper you dig, the darker the truths you may uncover." The light around Emily flickered, the warmth receding. Her mind raced, piecing together the implications of its words. Could she really be prepared for whatever lay beneath? Did she truly want to unearth what the darkness could reveal? As her breath quickened, the trees trembled around her, and the very ground seemed to pulse with a new dread. She had no choice but to move forward, deeper into the unknown light. Or was it another trap? Would she dare to take the next step into the abyss of her own truth? As she took a tentative step, the sensation of the earth shifting beneath her grew tumultuous. What awaited her in the heart of the darkness? Would she emerge as the woman she wished to be, or sink into the weight of her own despair? Each breath tightened around her throat, and she felt the shadows whispering her name, laced with promise and peril. Could she truly confront her demons, or would she fall prey to the consuming darkness? The ground quaked beneath Emily's feet as she apprehensively stepped forward. The darkness loomed all around her, an entity that pulsed with its own life. She felt the cool air brush against her skin like a semi-transparent shroud, whispering secrets, urging her to turn back. But she couldn't. With every inch she moved, the shadows twisted into forms that danced in her peripheral vision. Nightmarish figures surged, revealing glimpses of her past mistakes and choices that haunted her like specters. One shadow morphed into a blurry image of her younger self, eyes wide with confusion, terrified by the weight of expectations that had only grown heavier over the years. "You can't escape," it echoed, the voice a cruel mockery of innocence. "No more," Emily shouted, not just for herself but for the girl she once was, silenced by the very fears she was now confronting. Clenching her fists, she summoned the light within her again, feeling its warmth push back against the encroaching darkness. Each heartbeat felt like a drumroll to a climactic showdown. As she pushed the light outward, it shaped into a blinding sphere, illuminating the forest in hues of gold and lavender. The shadows recoiled, screeching, twisting away from the unrelenting brightness. Yet, the dark figure merely chuckled, its figure bathed in an inky black glow. "You think you can conquer me with a fleeting light?" It jeered, its voice echoing through the trees like thunder rolling ominously in the distance. "I don't need to conquer you," Emily countered, her voice steady, the tremors of doubt now hardened into resolve. "I need to understand you. All my fears, all my pain, they fueled your existence. I seek the truth buried within you." At that moment, she felt a shift. The dark figure stilled, the shadows hesitating as they drew back slightly. "Understanding can be a double-edged sword," it said, its eyes narrowing. "You might not like what you find." But Emily had come too far to turn back now. "Show me," she commanded, determination roaring in her chest. "I'm ready to face whatever lies within." Suddenly, the ground shook violently as if the very earth resented her declaration. The shadows twisted into spirals, and the temperature dropped abruptly. As her breath fogged in front of her, a fissure opened, revealing a hidden chasm below, a slice of undeniable darkness beckoning her. In the distance, a pulsing light caught her attention. It flickered like a dying star, a symbol of lost hopes and faded dreams. The shadows surged toward it, their whispers becoming a cacophony of despair. "Leave it alone, you don't want to know what's down there," they hissed, voices layered like old, tattered memories. Heart racing, Emily hesitated. Could this be the answer she sought, or would it drown her in despair? "Remember," the looming figure warned, its voice a melodious threat. "Each truth you seek pulls you deeper into the abyss." Will you still dare to look? The chasm widened beneath her, reaching out like a gaping mouth ready to swallow her whole. Emily understood that to confront her fears meant potentially discovering her most chilling truths. With her heartbeat echoing in her ears, she took a step toward the edge. Would she leap into the unknown, or could she find a bridge to transcend the fears that had haunted her for so long? The ground trembled again, the air thickening with tension, and she leaned forward, ready to dive into the heart of darkness. What awaited on the other side could change everything if only she dared to find out. But just as she prepared to leap, the shadows shimmered violently, the dark figure raising an arm, and a loud crack echoed through the forest. What terrible truth would she reveal the moment she crossed that threshold? Would it grant her freedom or bind her forever? The moment Emily leapt into the throbbing darkness, it felt as if time stood still. For a heartbeat, she was suspended in the abyss, weightless and free. Then, the darkness swallowed her, twisting her senses. Searing memories rushed to meet her, packing every ounce of regret, every jagged scar she'd ever earned. The shadows coiled tighter, each one a reminder of moments she wished she could change. Welcome back, the dark figure's voice boomed, surrounding her, reverberating like thunder. Are you ready to confront what you fear? In the depths of her despair, a flicker of her defiance surged. I am not afraid of what I have done, she shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. She could feel her heart pounding, each beat a drum urging her forward. I own my past, but it doesn't own me. With every word, the darkness retreated momentarily, flickering like a candle fighting the wind. For a brief instant, the cracked memories of her childhood dreams surfaced, a young girl scribbling stories in the margins of her schoolbooks, her voice full of life. Suddenly, emerging from the shadows, the reflection of that young girl appeared, fearful yet brave, eyes glistening with tears and dreams. Can you hear her? The figure in the dark crooned. The child who wanted to be seen. How will you ever make her proud when you've hidden her for so long? Emily felt a pang in her chest. I abandoned her, she admitted, her throat constricting with the realization. I let every doubt keep me from becoming who I am meant to be. Then do you dare to change that? The figure hissed, its voice a seductive whisper, enticing her to turn away. More than anything. Emily blushed back, drawing strength from a place deep within. I'm ready to rise. Taking a deep breath, she focused, letting all her emotions swirl into one cohesive force, a radiant light, flickering barely at first but gaining intensity with each heartbeat. The shadows around her screeched in a discordant chorus, trying to claw her back into the depths. No! She shouted defiantly, letting the light burst forth, illuminating the entire chasm. The colors danced against the dark, piercing through layers of despair. I see you. I accept you. But you no longer define me. With that proclamation, the shadows began to unravel, dissipating into the air like remnants of an old dream. She felt their grip weaken, their coiling tendrils fading, releasing her from their grasp. The ground trembled again, but this time it felt like a release, a shift toward liberation. The figures of her past began to fuse with the light, each representing pieces of her journey, the laughter of friends, the warmth of family, and even the pain that had forged her strength. They twinkled like fireflies, weaving a symphony of love and remembrance. Embrace us, Emily. The gentle voice rang clear, echoing in the fading darkness. You can become the woman you need to be by holding us close, loving every part of your journey, past, present, and future. Tears blurred her vision, but they were no longer tears of shame or fear. They were droplets of acceptance, catharsis, spilling over as she formed a connection with all that she had once thought was lost. Thank you for teaching me, she whispered, letting the light consume her fully, blinding her to all that had once held her back. The dark figure began to dissolve as if it was never there. You only need to choose to grow and to light the path ahead. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, she exclaimed with fervor. As the light enveloped her entirely, she felt her essence expand, every fear shed, every regret transformed into fuel for her journey. Emily stepped into the light as the chasm collapsed behind her, sealing off the darkness she no longer needed. When the light receded, she found herself back in her room, the clock on her bedside table still ticking, but everything felt different. There was a clarity in her heart, a warmth wrapping her like a fervent hug. She could breathe again. She was no longer bound by those haunting shadows. She rose, determination flooding her veins, rekindling the fire of her dreams. Emily knew she had the power to inspire those with stories untold. With that realization, she smiled. The clock had struck midnight, but for her, it marked a new dawn. Her new journey had only just begun. Now, before you go, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this amazing community. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this electrifying conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible ending. Your voice matters. Let us spread the inspiration.